Hey, good evening. Welcome into another week of State of the Tigers, our weekly show here on Power Mizzou, brought to you by James Carlton State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves, Missouri. James wants to be your insurance agent. He wants to talk to some Mizzou sports with you. But more importantly, he wants to get you the best deal he can. You can find him online, carltoninsurance.net. You can give him a call at 314-961-4800. If you're watching on YouTube, his information will be rolling across the bottom of the screen throughout. If you're listening to the podcast, I will remind you of that number and website address again at the end of the show. We've done some different things in the off season with this show. We've had some recruits on, give you a look at the future. We are now going to go a little bit into Mizzou's past here. And I looked it up. The first time I talked to our guest was in June of 2007. That is when high school wide receiver Michael Egnew committed to the Missouri Tigers. Still doing some things here in Columbia. We're going to talk all about that. Michael, how you doing, man? Appreciate you spending some time with us.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. This is an honor.
Yeah. So again, I don't want to date us. I don't want to make either of us old. I'm significantly older than you, but 2007. That seems like a minute ago, man.
Yeah, a long time ago. Actually, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So first things first. This is kind of like when they do Super Bowl Radio Row and they have all these guys on promoting things that they're doing. So I want to first kind of talk to you about one of the main reasons we're having you on here is your work with Coyote Hill. And for those that don't know, Coyote Hill is a foster care ministry here in Columbia. They do a lot of things for underprivileged kids in the city, and May is Foster Care Awareness Month. So, Michael, I just kind of want to give you the floor to tell everybody what your work with them is like and what your kind of what you do with them.
Okay, well, I met Bill last year at some point, early last year. He's the CEO over there now. It was all just a strange connection. I did an interview on a podcast, and I just talked about how I was a foster kid, and kind of my struggles, ups and downs to the foster care program, and I got to meet some of the foster care people at Coyote Hill. And the next thing you know, I was asked to be a board member, and now it's awesome. I get to be a part of changing so many lives and helping so many people progress through the foster care system. Coyote Hill does it the right way, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
So that's part of your story I never knew. And I don't know how much of that you want to share with people, but give me kind of the background, what motivated you to do this and what your experience was.
Well, I guess the background is simply this. I was when I was, let's see, 5 or 6 years old, I was adopted by my parents, Richard and Ursa Agnew, and given, their last name, etc. But I was a foster care kid for years, and I always had a passion to do and to be involved in foster care. There's different ways that foster care happens throughout the country. When I was a foster kid, there was some programs that were just not that good, to be honest with you. The foster care system has its downs, as well as its ups, and Coyote Hill does it the right way. And so I wanted to, I thought it was just very cool to be a part of that. And that's kind of, if you get in the right foster care home and the right foster care system, it can be beneficial to the kids that are involved. But, there are also, foster care homes that aren't that good. And so I really wanted to be a part of a system that did it the right way. And that was definitely Coyote Hill.
So by doing it the right way, can you give people that maybe aren't, I know Joe, I've worked with Coyote Hill a little bit, but people that maybe aren't familiar with the types of things they do and what they do for kids, kind of what you guys try to do for some of these kids.
Yeah. And so, I guess one of the main goals is trying to reunite kids that enter the foster care system with their birth parents. That's one of the biggest goals because it's huge. It's important, but that doesn't always get done. And so the second part is providing the care that will either they need or they lack, and that's huge as well. Not that many kids end up in a place like Coyote Hill that provides every single need that they might have. There's like I said, there's different ways, ups and downs that you can do it, but Coyote Hill does it the right way. I'd like to see more places like them.
And for everybody that's watching, most of you are Mizzou football fans. I know that that's an organization that Mizzou football works with a lot. Eli Drinkwitz has a lot of his players out there. If you guys want to know a little bit more about Coyote Hill, it's coyotehill.org. You can go on that website. There are multiple ways to donate, help out, volunteer your time, whatever you want to do. And Michael, that's not the only place you're working with kids these days. I know you're coaching out at Father Tolton. So what's it like being? Was coaching something you kind of always wanted to get into, or how'd that come about?
Yeah, for me, it was the coaches in my life that helped me progress to what I am today. The parents that adopted me were coaches that put me on the correct path. And I want to be a part of that for other kids. One of my biggest missions is to help boys become men. You get to do that heavily, coaching football. The other element, people don't know this, I'm also working over at the middle school. I'm the assistant AD over there, and that's also another area that I can contribute and do that. And so that's kind of what I've got going on. Besides the gym, I also own a gym, and that's a lot of pots boiling at the same time. But that's another thing that fills my cup with purpose and meaning.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you have any free time, man? You're coaching, you're volunteering, you and Jarrell Jackson run API over on the south side of town. So when do you actually just kind of relax? I think we may have lost Michael for just a minute. Let's see if maybe we can get him back in. Hang on just a second. I will take care of this real quick, sending him a message. Okay, so again, our guest is Michael Egnew, and we'll have him back on here in just a couple minutes. Just technical difficulties. You guys know how this is. We are at the mercy of the internet, and so when Michael's connection gets reestablished, we'll have him back on again. We've just been talking a little bit about Coyote Hill, and you can go over there at Coyote Hill, exactly like it sounds, .org. You can find a number of ways to donate, whether it's time, money, whatever you want to do. Joe Knight, Bill, all the people over there do a fantastic job. I've had a chance to play in their golf tournament and help them out with a couple of toy drives they do. I know they do a lot of stuff all over town. And like I said, Mizzou football, heavily involved with them. So I want to encourage you to get involved with them if you're looking for a way to kind of help out some people in Columbia. Again, we will get Michael back on here as quickly as we can and talk a little bit about some of the other things he's doing, and then go into talking about some of his days in Mizzou. He is back now. We are at the mercy of technology, but everything works. So, Michael, we're just kind of talking about you own API with one of your former teammates over on the south side of Columbia. Is that where you feel like you spend the majority of your time?
Probably about half my time there at the gym. We get up there about 4 or 5 a.m. and then we go all morning long, and then I go off to the school and do the school things. But yeah, it's definitely a place that we get a lot of fun there.
Yeah, my wife goes over and does 1 or 2 of your classes every week, and I can report that if you go, you will come home fairly exhausted and maybe not super happy with Michael and Jarrell for kicking your ass for about an hour.
Well, that's how it works. All the good things in life are hard to obtain. That's what we that's what we do.
Tell me how that came about. How'd you and Jarrell kind of both end up back in Columbia and decide to do that?
It was interesting. My sister-in-law, she had the dreams to start a cheer gym, and so we kind of helped her out. My wife and I helped her out and helped her establish that, and then it like some of the parents wanted to like do some fitness classes, and some of the kids started doing fitness classes, and then we kind of broke the two entities off, one cheer gym and then one fitness gym. And then it just kind of became its own thing, the fitness side of it, which is pretty cool. And so we just kind of grew and expanded that business a little bit, and it's been pretty good. We're excited about what people do. That we don't make it easy. It's a difficult workout, but it's good, and it fits all levels of fitness and athletic ability. Which has been a good thing for those guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much do you guys use from, like, obviously your background is high level D1 NFL athlete versus, hey, most of the people that come in probably maybe don't have quite that background.
What's funny is we actually started off training all athletes. And then it was their parents that came in like, hey, I want to do a workout. I want to do a workout. And so then actually the majority of our clients are middle-aged people. And so it is tailored to that age range and that skill level. The non-athlete is probably the majority of our clients, which is interesting because we're Athlete Performance Institute.
There you go. Yeah. So look, everybody knows or that remembers you from your time at Mizzou. You came up here from Plainview, Texas 17 years ago. Did you imagine at that time that like Columbia would be where you would kind of end up?
No, not at all. In fact, I thought Missouri was like this, really far off, distant, wooded place, because where I'm from out in West Texas, there's no trees or hills, I never thought I'd live here permanently, but, it's a great city. Columbia, Missouri is a great city. That's why we live here now. I mean, it's good for our kids, good schools, the whole deal.
I remember Dave Steckel, who recruited you, one of his favorite lines, and he said it about your hometown, was the only way to get to Plainview is to be going to Plainview. So tell me, I mean, what, small town, just kind of out in the middle of West Texas?
If you go to Texas and find nowhere, you just keep driving and then you'll find Plainview. It's kind of what it is. It's about 30, 40 minutes away from Lubbock, Texas. That's the closest thing.
Okay. So obviously being in Columbia and all that, how closely are you still kind of following Mizzou football? Stay in touch. Do you know any of the people kind of over at the program? Do you ever get a chance to go over there?
Yeah, I know some of the guys. I stick around. I'm not over there, very much, but from time to time I'll stop in and do the thing. I actually coached with Barry when he was the coach. I was an analyst on the offensive side of the ball, and then when he left, I didn't want to leave town, so I stuck around and I became the coach over at Tolton and did that deal.
Gotcha. Yeah. Obviously, a season coming up that everybody's really excited about. Probably pretty similar to when you came in here, kind of. That 2008. I think this is probably the most excited Mizzou football fans have been since that kind of your freshman year, coming off that 2007 season.
I think we look great. The coaches are fired up. They have great recruits coming in. It's going to be I think it's going to be a real interesting season to watch. I just from the feel of it feels like that momentum is there, and so it's going to be, I'm pumped to watch it happen.
Yeah. And everybody knows Columbia is a lot more fun when Missouri is playing well on the football field. I know that a lot of the people watching kind of want to hear some of your memories and things like that. So you come in here coming off, Missouri was number 4 in the country. Come into a position room that had some decent guys. Tell me a little bit about coming in and following Rucker and Kaufman and kind of carrying that on.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember going in that room. Chase Kaufman was kind of my big brother on the team for a while. He was a senior when I was a freshman, so I kind of tried to model. You try to model your game after those guys, but both of those guys were incredible. But what people don't know about is Denario Alexander. That year that he was, should have won the Blitnikoff and all that. He didn't. They gave it to Broyles, but he should have won it that year. He played the Y position. It was a 10 personnel, there was no tight end on the field. And so who backed him up? Well, that was me. So,
Right.
it was very, that offense with Coach Yost, and that was one of those, like, just throw the ball, and you learn a lot about catching and running routes.
Yeah.
You have an offense like that, it was pretty cool.
I've said that 2009 season that Denario had was the single best individual season I've ever seen out of a Missouri football player, and that includes like Chase Daniel being a Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
That year, Denario was unbelievable.
I mean, every time the ball hit his hands, you just thought it might go to the house. He was an incredible player. I mean, I'm still, to this day, I think he got robbed of the Blitnikoff Award. He should have got anything, but what can you do?
Yeah, well, and then you take over that position in 2010, and Mackey Award finalist, and it just kind of kept it rolling. So how much of it was the talent of all the guys that played there, and how much of it was this system that just kind of unlocked something in that spot?
Well, I think probably, first of all, those guys were extremely talented, so you can't take anything from that.
Yeah.
It also turns out that Coach Pinkel did a really good job at finding the right coaches and putting them in the right place. He did a really good job at finding, like, 2-star receivers that were really good in Texas, and then, developing them through the strength and conditioning program. And those guys became, NFL draft picks. You can go on and on, like Denario Alexander, their 2-star Texas guy, Sean Weatherspoon, small town Texas guy, Ziggy Hood, Polidura. How many times you go to these small towns and find those players that may have not had the most stars or clout, but you see it, you actually use your coach eye and you find players that have the ability to play on the next level.
Yeah, it was weird that, like, most of the guys Gary sent to the NFL were not the Blaine Gabberts that just came in and everybody thought they were playing in the NFL. It was guys like you and Denario and Spoon that came in and not a lot of people knew about them. Like, is that something way back then? Did you guys pay attention? Like, did you care? Hey, I'm a 2-star. This guy's a 4-star. Was it something that you paid attention to or not?
Well, for me, no, because you got to remember, it was like Rivals was like the only thing out there, and you didn't have you had to type it up on your computer. I mean, my highlight tape was on those. It was still those VCH, where the little tapes that you had,
Right, VHS,
together, at the video store. So it was right before before Huddle and all that stuff. But you did know the other guys coming in, but I don't think it mattered that much to most of us.
Yeah, especially in that program where it almost, I think, became the identity of Missouri, that, like, hey, we find guys that other guys don't think are good enough.
Yeah, and that's, well, what would happen? What I'll tell you, that was Coach Pinkel and his staff, especially Coach Ivy. They were able to find guys that had really high ceilings, but maybe not fully developed in high school. And then, and you can talk to any of those guys. They'll give shout outs to Coach Ivy, the strength guy at the time, for developing players. I mean, just my own story was, I came in at like 190 pounds and I left at 255 pounds, and so, and it was a good muscular structure that, it has to give all credit to those guys. But then also just football knowledge, it was like you learned a lot in the system. The coaches taught well. I mean, nobody ran routes like Missouri ran routes,
Yeah. To be fair, I know a lot of people that started college at 190 and ended at 255, but I don't think it was for the same reason you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious, with what you do now with the gym, like, is Coach Ivy still a guy that you're in touch with?
Yeah, I talk to him often. He's anytime I have questions, especially in the world of strength and conditioning, he's the guy. I mean, if you can get a hold of him about that, you've got the best guy probably in the country when it comes to that. Coach Hill, if he's with the Chiefs now, but man, think about the receivers that he put out of his receiver room. Some of these guys maybe don't get as much credit as they should, but think about the TJ Moes, the J Max, Denario. You can go on and on. Tommy Saunders, all those guys came out of Coach Hill's receiver room, and most of those guys were low star recruits that just got developed and and became really good players from Mizzou.
So there's obviously a jump from high school to college, and then I think a lot of people underrate the jump from college to when you go to that next level. You watch a really good college player, and everybody just assumes, hey, he's going to play in the NFL and be a star. What's the jump like going from college to, hey, football's a full-time job and you're with 52 other pros?
Well, it's funny because it's actually bigger than that. So in high school, you might play against one other guy in the season that's as good as you and that can play. In college, there's probably 5 guys on the field that you can just say these are NFL guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying they're going to be on the team several years in a row on an NFL roster. But then when you get to the NFL, obviously they're all the best guys. They've always been the best. It's a super tough. I mean, what is the average time in the league now? 2.5 years or something like that, because it's so competitive, so tough. Everybody's good. Everybody works hard. To separate yourself in the NFL is a huge, huge challenge, but definitely a big jump, especially for a kid, a foster kid out of Plainview, Texas,
Yeah. If I remember right, you were a 3rd-round pick of the Dolphins. Did you have do you remember, was there a moment where you're like, welcome to the NFL, where it's kind of like, oh, wow, here's where we're at.
It's funny. I came from a spread offense, and not even just spread. We were pretty much air raid at Mizzou. And then I went to the NFL where all of a sudden I'm hand in the dirt every play. I actually had to learn an entire new skill set just to even, stick around for the limited amount of time that I did. But yeah, I mean, it was a whole new element. Next, everybody, even in college, I was a little bit taller than everybody else. Well, I got to the NFL and everybody is my height.
Right. I've talked to Rucker and Kaufman about this. Do you guys feel like football lagged a few years behind for if the NFL today would have been this in 2010, you and Rucker and Kaufman, everything might have been you might have stuck around for a long time, put up a lot of numbers.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, all of us went to back in it was pro style offense where, the tight end patched, and 70% of the time you're either in pass pro or run blocking. That modern NFL football, today's NFL, the Chiefs, let's just take the Chiefs offense. I mean, a guy like Chase Kaufman he'd be incredible. You don't want to compare him to the Travis Kelce of the world, but he could compare. I believe that with everything in my head. The guy like that would be just as good, in that style of offense,
Yeah.
which,
100% agree. It was definitely fun to watch. So what do you coach at Tolton? What's the system there?
We run a kind of a mixed bag because we're class 2, so we kind of have to be able to play against the teams that run the ball all the time. I mean, I see wishbone offenses still, lots of triple option. So we do that, but no, we run
find the one kid who can throw a ball 12 yards and make him the quarterback.
Yeah. We run the spread, and ours is pretty modernized. It's lots of RPOs and first, we're the smallest guys. Our Tolton kids aren't very big, so we have to be very good at gadgets and moving the ball creatively. But there are some Mizzou concepts in there. If you ever watch a Tolton game, you're going to see a little bit of Mizzou. You're just going to see that air raid style.
Well, see, you can get a pipeline. You get them in the first day of practice. Say, you guys are not big enough. You got to come work out at API, and then you can play varsity for me. It all comes together, man.
Yeah, that's how it works. But it's funny we were talking about. It's the Tolton kids, they're really good kids. I never have a grade problem or anything like that. But we're like, maybe we should get a couple kids that have some grade problems to work the O-line and the D-line. No.
Yeah.
I like those kids. They're good and they work hard and they're smart. That's why we're able to have this kind of expansive offense over there.
Yeah. Last thing, just again, we got a lot of Missouri fans that are going to watch or listen to this. Just kind of, we've talked about all the professional stuff, personal situation. You got kids of your own running around, or?
I have 3 kids. Yeah, I have a daughter who's now 11. another daughter who's 8, and then my son is 4. So I have 3 kids, and it's so crazy how fast it happens. We're talking about Mizzou football. It's been years. I got all these kids now.
Yeah. And again, I'm amazed that you found 25 minutes between all of that with 3 kids running around to hang out with us. But I definitely appreciate it, and I just want to give you a chance, whether it's Coyote Hill or whether it's API, or if there's anything you kind of want to give fans an idea how to reach out, how to find what you're doing. I want to give you that chance.
Well, the best thing they can do, the gym is the gym, and I love the gym and the school. But Coyote Hill, they do the work of God there, and they need all the support they can get, because there's a lot of kids there, and a lot of families that could use the support. And they have lots of separate little ministries within one umbrella, and it's a lot to take on. But go to the website, find those guys. You can figure out how to donate or join or help out or whatever it is. And so I think if you're going to put any attention anywhere, we should put it on those guys.
All right. Well, Michael, appreciate the time, man. It was good to catch up, and appreciate everything you're doing. We'll be in touch.
Awesome. Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks a lot. Once again, that is former Mizzou tight end Michael Egnew. Again, it's API, Athletes Performance Institute, over on the south side of town. Coyote Hill at coyotehill.org. You can find that. If it's easier for you to email me at powermizzou@gmail.com, I can put you in touch with whether it's Michael or Joe Knight or some people over at Coyote Hill if you've got that interest. And look, guys, this was cool. Like I said, I first talked to Mike when he was, I think, a 16 or 17-year-old kid, had just committed to Missouri, and I never knew he came up through the foster care system. So it's this is kind of what we want to do, just a chance for you guys to get to know a little bit more about the stories, whether it's people that are going to play for Missouri, people that have played for Missouri in the past. So appreciate Michael taking some time. Once again, his partner over there at API is Jarrell Jackson, former Mizzou wide receiver, another Texas kid. So, hey, if you're trying to get in shape and you want to work hard, go check that out. I'm not there yet, but if it interests you guys, again, check them out. Also, remind you to get in touch with our friend James Carlton, State Farm Insurance, carltoninsurance.net. You can call him at 314-961-4800. Everybody needs insurance. James has got great rates. I'm in the process of talking to him about switching over and taking care of some stuff for me and my family. So encourage you guys to do that. Thanks for hanging out with us here. If you joined us live, like, comment, subscribe before you leave. If you're listening on the podcast, hey, we appreciate that too. It all helps. Just leave us a nice comment, share what we're doing, tweet out the link, whatever you might do. So appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week with I don't know, to be determined. It's the off season, guys. We fly by the seat of our pants. We'll talk to you next time.